We're live.
It's me. It's me.
Hello, viewers. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. This is the Gray Area Media, and this is your boy Ray E.
And this is your boy P. Wills. What's happening?
And
Man, hold on, time
I did
out.
that on purpose.
we gotta do that again.
I did that on purpose.
We gotta do
This
that
your boy
again.
P. Wills. What's happening? There you go. She's supposed to flow
You
right
gotta do in the order.
Okay.
Wait,
okay.
who goes
All right,
first?
All right. Let's do it over. we are live on Facebook and YouTube, and this is your boy Ray E.
This is your boy P. Wills. What's happening?
And this is Ebony. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, Ebony. I'm gonna need you to
Am I
back
super
up.
loud?
Can you back up from the mic?
My bad.
Because you are extra.
My bad.
It's okay. It's okay. The viewers, I just want y'all to know that we appreciate y'all so much. So please let us know if it's too loud, it's too low. We just want to make sure that everybody is able to hear the conversation. We'll try our best to monitor the sound. So today we have a very special guest. We got the Indianapolis race coming up for city council. We have a few of those candidates that are going to be running, and these are all awesome people. All of them are great at what they do. They're highly involved in the community, and today we're going to talk about city council, what their aspirations are, what are they planning to do for the city, just a lot. So first I want to introduce Antonio Lipscomb.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And
You're
running for
you're
district-
representing
my
District
bad.
17.
My bad.
That's correct.
Yes.
Hey,
I mean, Ebony,
I didn't know you was gonna
can
get it.
can I do my
No,
thing?
man, is that that light skin privilege?
That is. I'm a back.
Man,
back up.
yeah, light skin privilege.
I'm in timeout.
My man that's been here quite a few times, man. The gray area veteran up in here.
Right.
D. Ross. And you're running for District 14?
Yes.
Yes. And I'll give you all a chance to introduce your districts and tell them what zip code and stuff that you're representing, because a lot of people are familiar with those zip codes. And Belinda Drake is here with us today.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
Belinda
represent-
Drake,
What's happening?
District 13.
District 13.
East side, right next to 14. So I'm like the mixing pot, but we'll get into it.
46218. Is that you?
218,
Yeah.
226. I'm
Okay.
of 235.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I cover 3 different townships. So
Sweet.
Lawrence
Sure.
Township, Center Township,
Yeah.
and also what's the other one? Warren.
Warren.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Oh, Warren. Warren has been in the headlines a lot lately. They like the most dominant.
Yes,
they're like
we
a
are.
college, high school right now.
Yes.
Like they're dominating everything.
Yes.
But we're gonna have a great discussion today about politics. About community, about coming together and trying to build something great. And I think it's important for those. Belinda, you went into a little bit of what your district was. It's important for people to know exactly what areas you guys are representing and what your plans to do for them are. So D. Ross, I'll give you a chance to go into that, and then Antonio, you as well. So go ahead, D.
Yeah, you wanted me to just hit on the...
Yeah.
Do what you do, bro.
Alright, so our boundary, District 14, is from 21st and Post to 46th and Post, all the way east to past German Church to Cumberland, 21st and Curl Road all the way to 46th and Curl Road. So we're all that in between Minhofer, Post Road, all that in between is in District 14. And the platform, I'm running on is called PI, stands for Public Safety, Inclusion, and Education. And like many of you know that I grew up on the far east side of Indianapolis, born and raised on 42nd and Post Road, and just been exposed at a young age to high poverty, high crime in the area, knowing the needs firsthand and being directly impacted myself, and wanted to come back and break that cycle, be the change, be the role model I never had. That's what led to the Ross Foundation, and that's what leading up to the next step in my journey is running for council.
Dope.
Nice. Antonio.
Oh, okay. I was gonna prefer Miss Drake, but
I can go ahead.
Belinda went into a little bit, but go ahead, Belinda.
No, I'll just wrap it up because I like to talk about District 13, and I call it the mixing pot because I do have 4 different zip codes: 226, 218, 219, and a little bit of 235.
Okay.
And so when you think of District 13, you gotta actually be somewhat intentional on when you talk about the needs of the community, because it's a diverse community.
Okay.
Like I said, 3 different townships, so I have to be able to relate and speak to the needs of so many different types of constituents and residents.
Okay.
And so the number one issue on our community agenda for District 13 is to improve their relationship with local law enforcement. And what I mean by that, so too many times we've seen where, local law enforcement is called out to the scene over in our district. However, most situations or some situations aren't always criminal. Some are mental health issues.
Okay.
And I'll speak on a little bit of the statistics around that. Our Marion County Jail itself, 30% of the inmates have mental health issues. That's not a criminal. That's someone who needs rehabilitation. But I'll just set that one there for you.
Right.
And then the second thing on the community agenda is to improve our infrastructure. We are bringing out that purple line thanks to the new budget that allows for us to actually have a bus out there. But where are people going to walk safely to get to the bus? And then of course the potholes. I do think that there's a new formula out there to help improve the roads and the infrastructure and not just patch up holes. Everybody can afford to buy a new tire. Everybody just don't have the means to do that. We hitting potholes left and right. This is something that's affected our city.
At least fix the roads.
At least fix the roads, like the bare minimum, or allow us safe spaces to walk. So have a formula to help fix the roads and the infrastructure. And then number 3 is something that I think that the community is continuing to bring to light, and that's the abandoned properties in the district. We've been a lot of them. We've been doing a lot of studies with regards to opportunity zones, and I'll touch on it just a little bit. But here we are with so many abandoned properties between my district and Dee's district. However, District 13 and 14 isn't on the list of opportunity zones. So we need to have those intentional conversations with people like the governor who controls that list and figure out, hey, how are we attempting to revitalize an entire community, an entire half of the city, without even bringing the investors out to us. So,
right. And you mentioned opportunity zone. Explain that for people who don't understand what that is.
When you talk about opportunity zones, that means that there's a list that's pretty much like a preferred list of areas where investors can then see, so that's just high level. So basically you get to be on a list that is pretty much presented to people with money for investment. And how can we attempt to improve our communities, our marginalized communities,
we're not even on the list.
We're not even on the list. So we got some work to do,
sure.
But I think that I'm up for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're
So
gonna
I'll
talk
be
about
around.
in a minute. We're gonna talk about what your plans are for that community and how they get on the opportunity list.
Yeah.
D. Ross,
All right.
just go,
And
just
did
do a
Antonio
little
get
bit.
there?
I'm
Antonio
sorry. Yeah. Well, she went into kind of. I wanted to give you a chance to kind of go into, some of the
Platform.
stuff that your area that you're
Oh,
involved with.
Yeah.
And then you can just unleash.
So PI stands for public safety, and when I talk about public safety, I'm not talking about adding more officers to the community. Well, study shows that added more officers to the community, has now reduced one homicide in our communities. And when I talk about public safety, I'm talking about public health. I'm talking about addressing mental health, trauma, the poverty, the systemics around causing people from growing into a successful lifestyle. You know, there's so many different barriers that's hindering them from growing into that stage. So I want to address mental health, trauma, reentry is a big
Reentry, you mean when they get out of jail?
Yeah. So, you know, for felons, basically, when they get out, we don't have enough resources or services on the Far East Side to for them to have. We don't have no preparation, anything set up for them to come into where they can go into a system where they are getting thrown into a trade opportunity, a job opportunity, getting some education, knowing their rights.
Absolutely.
They don't even know they have voting rights. So there's so many different things that we need to address when felons is getting out, and we have one of the biggest population in District 14 of felons. So that's something I really want to address with under the public safety, and also the food scarcity. So, you know, that we have the biggest food desert in the state of Indiana. On the Far East Side, you know, every grocery store is closed. Every business is closed. 3 different districts, like different townships surrounding the Far East Side. We have the Warren Township, we have Lawrence Township, and we have the city. And then we go further to past Curl Road, you got Greenfield.
Right.
So who's advocating for these townships and areas to come together and work together to put out this burning fire in the middle?
Right.
No one. So instead of people saying, "Oh, that's your 42nd of Post Road is your responsibility, Lawrence," or 42nd of Post Road is your responsibility, City of Indianapolis. Right. How about we work together and unite our resources and services so we can help the people? So that's definitely what I want to do with public safety. Inclusion. Too many times, it's been too many times that people's voices has went unheard, and underserved communities are often not at the table. It's time to end that. You know, if we really want to see real change, well, we gotta have people who's directly impacted at the table, moving forward.
Right.
Because we have seen, you guys have seen, programs being implemented in areas, and they don't have no idea of what they're trying to do or who they're trying to reach, and it fails.
And aren't willing to reach out to people who know what they're doing.
Exactly. So you know, with inclusion, I want to make sure that every unheard voice be heard. Every underserved community become a served community, and also all minority communities are coming together, because just as the black community is suffering, the brown community is suffering as well.
Yeah.
And who's advocating for them to come together and fight for these resources and services they need? Because in reality, we have way more similarities than differences. But it's so much separatism. You know, if you let the media and the narrative tells it, you know, you would think that we're enemies, and the Latino community is coming in and pushing the black community out, and really it's not like that.
Right.
You know, so who's advocating for them to be on a platform where the black and brown community are united and fighting for the same resources and services? No one. So that's inclusion. And also with inclusion, I want to make sure that the youth are at the table. You know,
It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, I mean, 13-year-olds are getting killed. 14-year-olds are getting killed. You don't think they know what's going on in their community? And we're talking about
how they getting guns.
How they getting guns?
Nonviolence affects us all.
Well, you know, I mean, they popping pills, they drinking, they turning up, they going out, they finding something to get into. Well, you got to think about it. The Far East Side, we had the East Side Rink growing up. We had the Karen Place growing up. We had all these different activities, the Discovery Zone. All those things are gone. They don't have nowhere to go to. The community centers close at 5 during the week and closed on the weekend. These are the times that the kids need to be in something the most, or more likely to get into some trouble after in the evening and on the weekend. So it will make sense. Who's advocating for our youth though? Who got them at the table? You know, so I definitely want to put an end to that with the inclusion piece. And then education. You know, I want to address the mental health and trauma before they enter the school. You know, and when they enter the school, because it's a lot of things that happens in the homes before they get to school, that they can't focus or concentrate on what the study is of that day, and they get disciplined,
Right,
and
we
then
say
they get
that all the
expelled,
time.
then they get suspended.
Yeah.
You know, so who's addressing those things? Who's advocating those things? You know, I know we don't fight for exact policies on education, but we have a platform
Right.
to advocate for these things and to find who can be the key players to making sure that change is coming in School 105, in Phelan Academy, in Charles Tilly, all these different schools, Warren Township, Belzer, all these surrounding schools, and they have over 60% of their children suffering from mental health and trauma, and only have a couple counselors. That's not enough. We need wrapped around services. We need to wrap our arms around these kids, and we need people advocating for our people.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Antonio, tell us about District 17 and what
Yes.
your plans are.
And you know what? It's still East Side, so a lot of what has already been mentioned
Sure.
is kind of already on the table. One of the key things I want to point out, well, first of all, even before I even mentioned District 17, the platform that you guys have picked, I appreciate it because it's unique. I believe
Appreciate that.
we pretty much cover the full East Side
Thank you.
when you look at
Yeah.
what we're discussing.
Yeah.
And another thing, I think that if we're going to get to where we need to go, we need to think strategically.
Sure.
Because obviously there are concerns, real concerns, that have been unanswered for a long time.
Sure.
And I'm not really a politician, I'm really a people servant.
Sure.
And so being that I'm a servant, I probably will have some dialogue that's not necessarily political talk,
Sure.
but it'll just be real talk.
Absolutely.
Because I
And that's
think
necessary.
if we're going to have real changes, we do need to have real talks.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes real talks are not favorable. Real talks sometimes are not comfortable. May leave the room not being as popular, but I never, as a person, would go for popularity more than I'll go for respect. I would much rather have you respect me
Sure.
and not like me than like me but don't respect me.
Right.
Okay, so when you
It's a
look
big
at
deal.
Yeah.
look at District 17, pretty much the 34th Street is the north. Then it kind of jigs and jags on the west side where you got a little bit of College, a little bit of Central.
Yeah.
Then
Is
of course-
Brightwood included in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then on the other side you have Emerson, and then you just take it straight down, and it jigs and jags on down to Shelby and English, a little part of the south end of there.
Okay.
And one unique approach that I think we're hearing tonight is the fact that even though city council people represent a particular district, we will vote on all of what's going on in Marion County.
Nice.
But simultaneously, what I think the unique approach that we bring is the fact that we are concerned about our voting base.
Sure.
And some people are, just go about the line of business. Some I would say council people just go along the line of business. And sometimes when you just go on with the line of business and you're not thinking about your own voting base, then what happens is even in your own backyard, you will discover 38% of the people living in District 17 is living in poverty.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a little less than 15,000 single women raising kids in poverty. I believe we have one of the greatest percentages of returning citizens. Then when you look at home ownership, we got 83% of the people in our district renting homes. That's, to me,
That's
is
crazy.
83%.
83%.
Should be owning.
And
Wow.
it's funny because Lyndon B. Johnson, he actually got a law to where colored people could actually start getting mortgages, right? And so you see even the Flanner House, I think you guys
Yeah.
interviewed
Brandon
Flanner
Cosby.
House.
Shout out to B. Cosby.
Yeah. Flanner House was one of the unique CDCs that actually went around building pockets of houses. Actually, one of the houses on the east side where I live, 46218, I actually purchased one of those houses.
Nice.
And so, but the unique thing about it is you can see the older crowd dying off, and as they die off, you see a for sale sign in the yard. And generally what happens is this is not families moving into these houses, owning these houses. These are people that come in after the corporations get them, and then they put in another renter.
Section 8 them or something.
Property management
Yeah.
company,
Property management,
rent it
whatever.
out.
Section 8 them out.
And when I speak like this, oh, you're talking against the renter. No, I'm not talking against the renter. I'm just saying in other pockets of different districts, they don't have that high percentage of renters.
Right.
And so,
Something to look at.
yeah, that's a concern because when you're looking at reducing crime, and this is my humble personal opinion. I mean, I pretty much grew up in a war zone, if you will. I grew up where people were shooting outside, and if you didn't hear it ricochet off your house, you kept on eating dinner. The minute you hear it ricochet off your house, then okay, well, somebody's shooting at my house now. Let me go.
Where'd you grow up at?
40th and Boulevard, and then I moved over in Illinois. I was 30 minutes outside Chicago and Joliet and so forth. So so I'm very familiar with gang activity and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in order to make our district better, first of all, we have to deal with poverty, like Dee talked about, bringing people in a position where they earn a livable wage.
Yeah.
Once they're earning a livable wage, now you got options. You know, the kids are not playing in the park maybe because mom ain't got the food in the crib, and, you know, and she's trying to make ends meet. And then when you look at the parks like what Dee was talking about, they're treating the parks now like it's a recreational type place, like you're going to the museum or you're going to the zoo and you have these covert charges and all this sort of thing. To me, that's double taxation. Don't take my money as a taxpayer and then have our kids have to pay for this and pay for that. And then, you know, these sly remarks that comes from the upper, it comes from the upper management. And this type of attitude filters down to the common worker to the point that they're feeling like they're entitled to talk to a kid, a parent, a certain way. And so we have to address that and help educate the people from the top on down to understand, look, you already got our tax dollars. We don't want our kids not swimming when it comes time to swim and to participate in the full max. And plus, we see that you're doing all these renovations in certain pockets of the city where you know gentrification is taking place. You're raising the level of quality of the parks and stores and all this sort of thing. But while we're sitting there, and part of it, I can't blame people. I have to look at how I can, as a leader, go back to our community and say, hey, this is going on and we are allowing it. And we are allowing it because we are taking our money. So when you look at I'm going over 5 key things. The first thing is, of course, reducing crime. Reducing crime, of course, following justice issues. Like we're fighting 279 right now. You want to meet us there at the State House tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Awesome.
We're going to be fighting 279. This is where kids are being waved over and as adults. Okay, so those are justice issues. And mind you, I served 30 days in the real jail at 13. And I saw people don't know. You know, they look at me and there's a level of criticism there. Well, where did he come from? This, that. But listen, I'm letting you know, I come from the streets, and it was very hard. My mom had 4 kids at the age of 19. But it was only by the grace of God that I got out of this city. I got a trade. I don't have a felony and all this sort of thing. But I was, as a kid, I was notorious. I was the one that they thought would definitely go get the max of prison sentencing or death. That was my destiny.
They wrote you off.
Until God intervened. You see what I'm saying? So reducing crime by giving people livable wage jobs. Once they get livable wage jobs, now they can own their own home. We need to talk about home ownership. Once they making the money, let's get to home ownership. After home ownership, then we're talking about entrepreneurship. There's not enough businesses, and you say grocery stores, which I appreciate the grocery store that we have visited when we were in your district, but we would like to see more grocery stores like that, as well as small businesses that we can invest in the communities that look like ours, right? And then, of course, community engagement. Like what we're doing right now, I don't think it's by happenstance. Some of us just moved right into it. Some of us was forced into it. But at the same time, we are here, and it's a divine call that I believe that we have. And if we continue just to work together with the community engagement and seeing how we could just build our community together, I think then how we turn that they grade in the state that they wanted.
Yeah.
To
Sure.
be.
Absolutely, man. Y'all got me so hyped right now.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, like all this stuff is like stuff we've all, and y'all have been in conversations as well. But we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
About getting into these positions, and here y'all are taking that leap.
Yeah.
And what's important is, and y'all mentioned it a couple of different times, is if when you see something going on in your community, you got to take action and be about it. And I've seen every single one of y'all be about it. You know,
Yeah, man, that
whether
seems
y'all
to be
didn't
the
see.
common denominator,
Yeah.
man, since y'all come from that environment.
Yeah, you come from the
So y'all can
environment.
relate
Yeah.
to what's going on.
And then you said
Yeah.
something about talking raw. Look, we ain't got time to be sugarcoating
Right.
what's going on when everybody else is out here talking crazy, calling countries shitholes and all kind of stuff. Can't nobody say nothing about the language and the raw effort. There was a woman in California, Senator Flowers. She went off
Yeah.
about the gun laws
controls
and gun control and everything. And for some reason we're looked at, when we get loud and get raw, we're looked at as a threat. You need to calm down. Why do I need to calm down if my regular tone
Or
is
anger
not
or
working? Then I have to raise my level because now we here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because the calm stuff don't work no more. And while they're able to, whether they call it keeping calm and having these conversations, we have conversations by being emotional because we're an emotional people first of all.
Yeah.
So you talk about police officers showing up and not fully understanding situations, whether they take it serious or not. A lot of times they come in ready to clamp down on things, and it's like, look, her son just died. You can't sit here and try to arrest her, and she's going through an emotional situation. So stuff like that, it's important that we have people who understand these communities be involved in some form of leadership where that could be addressed, at a local level. So
and from a grassroots standpoint, I've been a grassroots leader for so long and doing community activities and work in the community, but after so long, I do the back to school giveaways, I do the food drives, I do the toy
Peace
giveaways, I do peace marches,
Yeah.
and I do it revolving every year, and then to a point that you realize that this is not enough. That, okay, maybe I'm just putting a Band-Aid on a situation. What's really controlling, what's really needed to heal the wound? And that's what I looked at. It was like, man, I gotta get into this fight, the civic engagement fight, and change who's leadership and who's a stakeholder, because they are blocking some of those resources and services and some of those initiatives from coming into the community. And I was like, man, I got to take a leap of faith and lead into that direction.
At least try.
That's what was going to be my next question, but you actually already answered that. How do you go from the Ross Foundation? How do you take that and build upon it, and then use that in the direction of your platform? And then I also want to ask, we've had a real good heated debate. Should have some kind of political experience before they become a politician. So what do you guys say to that? Because when I'm hearing and when all three of them, when I'm hearing your stories, like you talked about as far as the conversation of a politician, your I guess your stereotypical politician, those days in my opinion are over. We need to have these real conversations, like you said, because we're kind of beyond that, being political. So what is your response in regards to whether or not a candidate should have political experience? Because I know, Belinda, you have have a strong resume, but what are your thoughts on that?
When you say that a public service,
what do you say to people that say that? Because that is the debate. It's been a debate on this show that they should.
I think that that is a great question, but I can't say that I think that it should be a requirement. I think that you, just for any type of job that you're looking to fill or any position, I think that you should look at experience and other qualifications. And sometimes, you know, that's just like saying, well, you should go to college in order to get this job. Not everybody learns in a classroom, so it's kind of the same thing. But here, I had the political experiences. I've worked on campaigns. I've knocked doors. I've canvassed. I've done just about anything you could think of politically except for run for office. But then at the same time, I have the non-political side, which is probably my most fulfilling side, where I get to walk in the Women's March, where I get to work with the NAACP Young Adults Committee, where I get to work with the public allies who help individuals get connected to nonprofits. I've worked with the Duval Work Release Center. And then going before that, like I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana, where oh Lord, dang. Like no.
This has also been an ongoing conversation.
Like no, but
Gary, Indiana is in the building again.
Please don't get him started.
I don't think you ever gonna win, Pat. I don't think you're gonna win against Gary.
Please don't. Get
I think that we have to challenge the status quo, and we need to have again real people, real issues, and real solutions, and we cannot sit here and say what that looks like. I think the community deserves to say who they want to represent them. It should be someone that they can relate to. And I think I'm going to create a new hashtag and go back to I think it's the music awards, the People's Choice. Like, no, you gotta, that's just what it is. Like, you have to be able to trust a person that's going to represent you. You want to make sure that they are involved and they're going to continue to stay involved and have your best interest in mind. Like I said, I cover 3 townships. I have to be able to be actively listen, understand the needs, and then be able to translate that back into to policy and execute. And same thing with the current council. 4 years after I'm elected, come back and say, hey, you didn't do this. What about this? Hold me accountable too. So I think that we have to challenge the status quo. I do not agree and say that a public servant or politician should look or be a certain type of way. That's just like going back to say, for example, you have to have graduated college to be qualified for this position. No, that's not necessarily true. We all learn in different ways, and if my community does not require certain things of me, why does it matter if I'm still the choice and I'm still able to get the job done? So that question actually just stuck. You knew it was gonna touch me a little bit. So
I mean,
I'm gonna take some water. I'm gonna sit back on that one.
I know.
She was like, look, that finger went up like this.
Well, that's important. I think
that was an excellent response,
That's
though.
the Gary finger that went up.
Some people have what they consider to be the candidate, and sometimes you have to look at the guy that's not the candidate. Look what America did. Was Donald Trump a real candidate? You don't have to answer that, but was he a real, true candidate of politics? No.
I can answer that. No.
he's a dude who had a successful show and came up on some money. And that's just my opinion. And he won People's Choice. So America wanted him to speak for them, and look what's happening. I mean, and then a lot of them still support him. So we have to be that way in the community as well.
And I've been told that I need to wait my turn. I've been told that I'm disqualified. And my response is, what are the qualifications to serve your community? Why not me? That's my hashtag. And that's how that came about. And then I turn back to the community and say, why not you to get involved? Why not us to be the change we want to see in our community? Absolutely. We don't have to. We don't have to wait on permission to serve our community.
Right.
We don't have to wait to a baton to be passed down to say, okay, it's my time to make sure my voice is heard. No, too many young people are dying every single day. We can't wait 4 years, we can't wait 12 years, we can't wait 20 years or whatever time limit it is, because ain't no time limit on death. And when we talking about political agenda, shouldn't the political agenda be the community agenda? And that's the case, because we have gotten away from a community agenda. And
I mean, do you think that's our fault, or the fact that we put more emphasis on government involvement?
Well, what I'm saying is, from a community standpoint, the community should have the right to choose who they want to lead them into any initiatives or projects they want to see come about in their community, because it's the people's voice, right? And if you're not visible in that community, you know, like the city council, okay, my goal is I want to inspire everyone. I want to be elected, right? And I want to turn the city council into a community council where we're more in the community than in the office downtown.
Right.
You know, being more visible, being more hands-on with our residents, so the residents can know who you are. You know, it's a problem when you go into a district and they don't know who their elected official is.
Yeah.
You know,
Wouldn't
so,
know him if he's walking down the street.
Right.
and so when you hit on, you know, do we have to be, you know, the qualifications to be elected? Do we have to know all these things? I think you need to know the basis, you know, because you are controlling the city budget. But also,
now, what would you consider the basics?
You know, just the city budget, you know, the ordinances, you know, the basic language, what it takes, right? And you got to be willing to have the heart and passion to learn whatever you need.
Whatever you don't know.
What you don't know.
Nobody goes on a job
perfect.
fully
Right.
knowing everything.
You train me.
Yeah, so you got to be
know
open
everything.
to learning to that, right? And then also, you got to be intentional about voter education too, because what you don't know, what I didn't know, I want to be able to pass down to the ones who I know don't know either from in my community, especially on 42nd and Post.
Yeah.
It's a gap in voter education.
Yeah.
Growing up out there, ain't nobody come out there and teach us about the process of the primaries and general elections, the importance of voting. They maybe did every blue moon for voter registration. And that was just on the corner on 42nd and Post at the gas station. But they wasn't going on Brentwood where the guns is at, where the high crime is at, where the drugs is being slain, Sutton Place, where all the shootings is happening. You know, they wasn't going over there intentionally. So how will we survive? Put food on the table. Everyday barriers and challenges are keeping us from learning about anything outside of our block radius.
I think America's done a great job at blindly hiding information from people, because you're right. People get stuck trying to live, and they don't necessarily have time to go doing anything else.
Right.
And to add to that, you know, this is bigger than me. I brought this obituary. This is my cousin who was just murdered a couple weeks ago on 38th and Franklin Road, Ryan Jordan.
Rest in peace, man.
And he was shot 7 times and shot twice in the head and ran over
Jesus.
and left for dead. This is why. This is my why. Why I said I need to take a leap of faith and get involved into this fight, because we can't wait any more longer. I lost 37 friends to gun violence on the far east side of Indianapolis. You know, I'm directly impacted. This is a different type of why for me. It's not about, it's beyond politics for me. It's about life or death. You know, and this is the seriousness that people need, and the urgency that people need to get grasp of. Like, this is serious, man. We had the highest murder rate for the last 4 years, every single year on the far east side.
Why don't people understand? Like, if you can't connect with the youth who are coming up with no options, they resort to other things, and then in turn, it's always the thing. If I can make $6,000 going to take it from this person, then why I got to go to school and do that and go the long way? When you present people with the only opportunities that they have, that's kind of what they succumb to.
Right.
You know, and I think that there's ways to avoid that.
Absolutely. And one thing about it, this, again, I'm not a politician, so sometimes I know I won't get all the votes I need, but I say stuff straight. Sometimes we are our worst enemy. Because we will put a certain emphasis on people that look like us. But when it comes to someone else that has the acceptable culture or color, we don't hold them at that same standard. Let me give you a perfect example of what I'm just referring to. You brought up Donald Trump and his political career, right? But do you remember a guy by the name of Barack Obama?
Absolutely.
Who actually served as a junior senator under Dick Durbin for only about a year and a half, and they were asking him real boastfully and loudly, how could he govern the whole country,
Mm-hmm.
and he only served a year and a half
Yep.
under Dick Durbin.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now let me ask. So my question is, why is not the same dialogue going for Donald Trump
Right.
that
Right.
you're talking?
Right.
Because he has
Now
money.
qualifications don't matter.
Because the
Because he has money.
only difference I see
Yeah.
is the difference between their complexion.
Right.
But to make it
And
even
money.
worse, we will go on with this dialogue because we are so used to crucifying one another.
Sure.
Now, here it is, we're running it, now you're talking about qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
But who's talking about qualifications
Right.
for the 25 people that's already serving?
Yeah.
Right.
No one
Right.
even brought it up.
Right.
Because guess what? This really, if you dig a little deeper, and I love going a little deeper,
Go ahead. Let's
it's
go.
the fact that it's not even really about the qualifications.
Right.
You know that when
Oh,
black
yeah.
folks came up to vote, they stuck jelly beans in front of them and said, "Hey, how many jelly beans are there, buddy? If you can't count the jelly beans, oh well, you can't vote." So what I'm saying
Right.
is it about the jelly beans, or is it about the way we perceive things?
Right.
Right.
Is it how we perceive one another, automatically assuming, okay, I'm a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I own 3 businesses. I'm doing great. Do you think I actually really need to get $12,000 annually? Think about that
Right.
for a second.
Right. Sure.
Matter of fact, as I'm sitting here, I already know what the pressure, how things are, and the way
Sure.
they do things, and how you're going to lose certain things
Right.
because you're doing certain things a certain way
Absolutely.
to speak to power, to help serve our people.
Sure.
But one thing we have to be so very cautious and careful of is that we do not overemphasize
Sure.
additional rules and regulations when it comes to validating our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If we can't get help from our own people, that's the reason why Dr. King had it so rough.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just for the simple fact that
Malcolm
the federal
X.
government, Malcolm X and some of our other freedom fighters,
Yeah.
it wasn't just the fact that the federal government was against them. Their own people was against them to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Until we learn from our history and understand that when you have people like her that's standing up, and you got people like him that's standing up, I may be the new guy on the block. You can talk about me a little bit. Yeah, I'm taking my name off the ballot. And I'm showing straight up
Yeah.
that these two are to be respected. They're community leaders. They're somebody that I admire. I know I'm older than them, but I admire them and I learn from them. I glean from them because of their experience.
Yeah.
And I dare anyone to belittle, try to make them feel less than
Sure.
what all of what they have accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is ludicrous.
Yeah.
And we should not stand for it.
Right.
The reason why I came here tonight, I go to bed around this time with my 4-year-old son. I promise you, I don't come out like
Appreciate
that.
Trust me, it is our
But-
bedtime
appreciate
too.
But let me tell you this: the reason why I came is because of the bright minds that you guys have in this room.
Appreciate that.
You guys are the ones that we are going to have to rely on to have our back.
Sure.
When we're being condemned and criticized and critiqued, we need for you to go and battle for us because we are fighting for the lives of our children.
Sure.
We're trying not to have them go over to prisons and jails and kill one another. My brother was just killed last year too. On a homicide. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yes, we are really fighting real battles, and it's not necessarily always about the issue at hand. Look at the money.
Yeah.
This is about money, and we got millions and millions of dollars that's supposed to be coming to our community. And the reason why we are being fight so hard is because they know that we have a vested interest
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in making sure those dollars
Right.
become
Do the right thing.
replenishable
Yeah.
and reinvested back into our community.
Sure.
Lives change when people are making money.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
And people change too.
And people change too. But that's a good segment. I appreciate you
Sure.
standing up and
That's
speaking
great.
up for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And so that's just one of the things
That's
that I look
necessary, man.
forward to. Like once I am serving with the council, I do want to be
Yeah.
part of the public safety committee. Again, the number one issue, and this because I've experienced it in my personal life, I've experienced it in my family life, is we don't need necessarily more police officers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need a $2 million jail
Right.
where we're
Right.
housing
Right.
more mental health patients than we
Pause
need
for
to.
a minute. That is just absolutely crazy to me. I mean, and you, sorry, you just triggered something because I've been thinking about that, and it's just like a big jail. Really, you need a bigger jail because you're anticipating more criminals, but you're not helping the communities, and these people know, the elected officials know where the community issue problem areas are, and they've dumped dollars into some local non-for-profits who consider themselves helpful to the police, and crime is still rising.
That's so funny. I saw them walking through
Ebony, how
on my
you-
way here. I know you. I actually
just
saw
said-
them in those yellow vests coming down 42nd Street on my way up here in dang, what are they called now? What is it? What are they called now, D? I drive past them every day. The apartments,
Meadows?
42nd and Post.
Basic Garden.
Oak tree.
Was it Oak Tree or Three
No.
Fountains? One of them. Yeah, I saw them crossing the street in their their yellow vests. Yep.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's just amazing to me that we, like people who mostly are not from these areas, will look at a bill or look at something that needs to be passed, and they're presented with facts from whoever that could misconstrue them or whatever, because we all know that you can take facts and do what you want with them. You know,
Information.
right. I done seen facts get twisted 3 different kind of ways, and they all make sense. This is just who's presenting it. That's really what it is. So they take these statistics and they say, well, these are the problem areas, and jails are increasing. We don't have space for them, so we should get more. We should put more police in this area. Okay, y'all put police in these areas, and it's still crime happening. So it tells you that it's not a need for more police. Actually, the police that are there need to understand and know and be respectful of these communities and their leaders, and figure out how they can tackle it, as opposed to going in with guns blazing.
In my experience, like the last couple of years with Commander Spurgeon of East District, we have had very productive conversations about that. You know, about not going into our on 42nd and Post Road, continuing and doing police sweeps every single year, doing indictments with the feds, and not reducing one homicide. And I said, hey, how about we try a different approach this time? How about we get to the root problems and we address the need versus just locking people up, and when they get agreed. Commander Spurgeon agreed. He said, okay, instead of us doing the sweep, how about you do your service sweep? Like, because I told him, get away from the service sweep. Let's do a community resource, intentional community resource fair inside the community.
Right.
Not at a community center, not at a church. No, we're going into the apartment complex.
Right.
We're going into the Club East clubhouse. We went in Mason Garden clubhouse. We also went in School 105. Because that's that's in the middle, the center of housing additions. And then we went to Phelan Academy, School 103, and we had a great turnout. In total, we had over 200 people we served. Yeah. And we addressed food, shelter, clothing, reentry, legal aid, mental health, trauma, health. Any different needs they had, if we didn't have it right there, we found. And that was more a productive result, you know, and that's what I'm trying to advocate more and more for, versus just going in there and trying to lock people up, pulling over innocent people like they did a few years ago when they was locking up everybody on 42nd Post, pulling over grandmas, and they did a town hall, and couldn't find out that some of these stakeholders was behind orchestrating that sweep. And, you know, so we gotta...
When I was 22, I was pulled over 9 times by police. And guess what their excuse was? You look like somebody that resembles somebody that we're looking for.
That's a sense of...
what is that?
Ignorance. I'm sorry to be frank about it, but it is.
Call it like
it is.
Yep,
like my brother lives here in the city now. Nieces and nephews, like a huge portion of my family now lives in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been here since 2004, so it's my second home. Like, I live here, and I fear that some of the calls and the RRPs are, I may end up getting that phone call just by racial profiling.
Right.
But just like you said, you got pulled over 9 times at the age of 22.
For nothing.
How do we remove that stigma?
Right.
It takes people that look like us in the community that the community trusts to be that liaison with the local law enforcement. And I think that we have to be intentional on having these conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, we do as a state always end up with a surplus.
Right.
If you look at the numbers,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have money.
Mm-hmm.
We have
There's money
money,
here.
so let's train our local law enforcement to partner with local mental health facilities to better assess situations. And then there's another stat: 40% of the people that are locked up in Marion County are substance abuse users. Like, we're not tackling the real issues. Building a larger jail does not help improve the quality of life for the residents of
600 million.
Yeah, it doesn't improve the quality of life. We need to
571 million went from the county, city county.
we need to tackle the real issues,
Right.
which is mental health and trauma, which is training individuals on how to become more financially responsible. Let's take some of that money and invest it in the communities so that we are preventing individuals from going to jail. So
And see, these
That's okay. Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was going to say, these are the kind of watches that we bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Because I was at the city council meeting when they approved the $571 million that went over to the jail. See, that's how you have a disconnect, because we don't have city council people that's coming through our community saying, hey, this is getting ready to be voted on.
Yeah.
Let me give you a quick, and then there's 2 more points I want to make real quick. The $471 million is getting ready to be invested in the city for infrastructure. Who's going to fix the roads?
Right.
Are there going to be people that lives in the community that could eventually could train them to fix those roads, or partner with that's my wheelhouse. I've been in construction for over 30 years. I'm the only one in this state who has a vocational training school that's nationally accredited through NCCER. So that's my wheelhouse.
Awesome.
But then also, one of the closest things we need to look at and pay very, very strong attention to is how laws are getting ready to start being adjusted so that we can gather more people to go into the penal system.
Right.
Now that's the reason why we're going to be at the State House Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Right.
Because they're trying to adjust the law to where a 12-year-old can be
charged as an adult.
I mean, it's already bad. It's already at 14.
But they're getting ready to make even more. Because here's one thing we got to pay attention to, and we can't ignore it. America is in the business of incarceration.
Yeah.
We're in the business of incarceration. So they have to find beds to fill.
Yep.
And if we are not careful, African American males make up 6.5% of America's population, yet we represent 40.2% of the prison system. 40.2% of black males are locked up.
And the other 6% represents the women, and
They
some of them are
coming for the
locked up.
rest. They coming for the rest.
And he's talking about mass incarceration. Also, we got to address mass criminalization. House monitors, GPS monitors, all those things are, man, like
corporations making them.
A lot of my friends are on those things, and some of them are easily being violated by any. It could be an error in the monitor, because a lot of them don't work properly over 60% of the time, and then they get re-locked up. So, but who's advocating on their behalf?
Right.
On those type of things. So that's something else that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I wanted to get some audience participation because they've been hanging in there and
Patiently
listening.
waiting.
Shout out to the viewers.
So
man.
viewers,
Yes.
if you
There's a couple
can,
of
first of all, let us
questions
know if you are in either one of these districts. So if you could type 13, 14, or 17, just so our candidates here on the show could actually know who you are. because you guys, I mean, they're representing you.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, D is representing me because I'm Far East Side. So,
Far
you
East
know, of
Side.
course, I'm going to have tons of questions for D. I'm trying to hold him to after the show so I don't, you know, appear to just be bombarding him. But I did want to address housing with all three of you. And I'll start with D because this has been like my number one annoyance for if you follow me on Facebook for probably like over a year. And that's the housing and home ownership. So the thing that's happening on the Far East Side is an increase in home ownership. But I don't know, to me it seems kind of shady. And I'm going to say that because they're selling homes, number one, cheaply made. And the reason why it's annoying to me because I literally saw a family. I was driving through the neighborhood. Now, mind you, they're selling home. I guess I can't say the builder because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but it's one of the cheapest home builders that you could ever get a home manufactured by. I mean, just one blow and it's a wrap. But anyway, they have to have a contract with somebody. Somebody must have got in bed with them at some point in time and said, you are going to build up the Far East Side. So anyway, they're building homes in neighborhoods that have huge potholes, streets that aren't finished, that blue police lights, high crime. I mean, they're building homes in these neighborhoods. And what is getting me is, like I said, I drove down the street and I saw a family. It was kind of dark, and I think it was a real estate agent getting out the car with them, and they were getting out of the car. They were deep too, getting out the car with their phones out, you know, just like excited and happy. So I don't know if they just closed or if they were just going to take a look at their home that had just gotten finished. And two things that get to me. Number one, most of the real estate agents that I see that are selling these homes are us. And then also, we're not educated. We're not doing our research because we're so happy to be owners, and that's what everybody's pushing because that's the status of success is home ownership. But if your home is worth nothing and it's going to depreciate, then what? And we're being pushed out there by design. So on one hand, you have 80% renters in Antonio's district, but then you have an increase in home ownership in D. Ross's community, and it's almost, but they're both shady. So D, what do you say? What do you think about that? Have you been aware of this, and do you have any information about this?
I'm not too aware, but I'm definitely been keeping my eyes on things. So I definitely want to look more into it. But one thing I do want to stand on is I want to create a policy that all business owners have to abide by, where they have to, if they plan on starting a business, owning property, they got to be a part of the beautification of that area. Filling those potholes, keeping those areas up to par. Don't just come in and put a land bank or a home or into this area and profiting off the oppression of our people. You got to be a part of the change in our community of developing, redeveloping, and redeveloping the infrastructure of our community so we can have something we can sustain, be sustainable on. But also I want to hit on is home literacy. Home literacy is a gap on the Far East Side. Well, I think probably throughout the city of Indianapolis, but definitely on the Far East Side, where a lot of people don't know how to properly maintain their home. They don't understand.
It's a huge problem.
They don't understand how to keep their property value up and why it goes down and why it goes up. And so, that we recommend that you be a part of because you don't know how to maintain your home or you don't know how to understand the taxes, the property values and everything. Well, you're losing already, right? And so I want to dive into that home literacy because we don't have no type of programs out there, and I've been advocating for that because you're right. It's a lot of new home ownership development over there, and I have seen a couple of homes that has been deteriorated by wind and rain and snow easily because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And so that goes into the home literacy.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They don't know. They think it's a nice built home on the outside and on the inside, but they don't know how the foundation builds. So all those things goes into the home literacy that we gotta make sure that we are educating our people and intentionally. People who are living in underserved communities who ain't never owned a home in the first place.
Yeah, and I get the excitement. I mean, I totally get it, because that is an exciting thing to be a homeowner. But at the same time, I feel like in our excitement, we're kind of we're being taken advantage of our excitement.
Yeah.
Our desire to be owners of something, and so, and there's a lot of people that are responsible for that, including us, because like you said, we don't have that literacy.
Yeah.
And I can imagine somebody would probably be pissed if you tell them, hey, don't buy it. Because I dang near wanted to be like, don't do it. But, but I didn't want to,
Because you got to understand, like, if we come from an area where we ain't never have nothing.
There you go, right.
And we systematic oppression has mentally damage our minds forever. So when we see something of value, we
shiny and new.
Exactly. We attach to it without thinking quick, like buying a new car.
Right.
Buying a new home, all those things, buying new furniture, all those things play into that. So home literacy is a big issue that I want to definitely push at City Council.
And then Belinda, you had mentioned the
Opportunity zone.
Yes, opportunity zones. And I wanted to ask you about gentrification. So how do you plan on, as if there's opportunities for investors, and if we don't have a seat at the table, how do you plan on preventing gentrification from happening since we don't have a seat at that table?
Well, currently, and I won't speak too much on the person that currently hosts the seat in District 13. He's not running for re-election, but which is actually a good thing for the community because he, for whatever reason, attended less than 50% of the council meetings. So you didn't represent our community to the best.
But yet still, they coming after y'all for. Okay.
That's strange.
I was saying that to say, I plan to actively be that seat at the table, to have that intentional conversation with the stakeholders who deliver that list of opportunity zones to the governor for approval. And if one of the qualifications is to fall somewhere between 20% of the poverty level, how do you disinclude our districts? Like, it doesn't logically make sense.
Right.
And so I think that I continue to, since I decided to go ahead and run for city council, continue to educate myself to understand how to get my community the financial support and the investors' attention that it deserves. And I think that once I am able to actually sit at the table with the rest of the council and help figure out what the budget is going to be used for throughout my community, I think that the community will get what it actually wants. And all I want to do is be that representation. I want to be that voice, that advocate for the community. I don't have all of the answers in regards to what we do once we get some of the funding, but we at least need some. We don't have a community center. I was raised in rec centers. That's what helped save my life. We don't have a high school in my district. Like I said, we don't even have a grocery store. We literally have to drive all the way to Lawrence, all the way west, out south, all the way to Castleton. And then we don't even have a good bus route to get us there. So you mean to tell me, because unlike their districts, they have some movement. There's literally no movement in District 13. And it's been that way for the last couple years, where we are just, it's like we've been left for abandonment. And I think that here I am wanting to be engaged and help my community, because I know what that feels like. I may not have been raised in Indianapolis, but I was raised in poverty. I know that it takes a community to raise a child. I know that it takes people believing and coming together. And if
it takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. It takes all of us. And so being the mixing pot where I actually get to work with the city of Lawrence, work with Indianapolis, work with the 3 different townships, I think that it's gonna take somebody with a sense of understanding and doing the research about the opportunity zones. I mean, I'm spending nights in laying there thinking like, how did this happen?
Right.
How
Right.
do you basically create a list that does not include an entire population?
Right.
Like
right.
that's a very
And most local
interesting
people don't even
conversation.
know that.
Right.
This is why I'm more for getting involved in local politics
Yeah.
and what's
Right.
going on rather
Right.
than the national level. I think the
Right.
national level is a distraction from what's happening in your local communities. It's easy to look at the blue and the red and say that guy and this guy and to see the people they put on TV, and you never once understand who you're voting for. When you get to the ballot, all you know is what they've been showing you on TV.
But
Instead
That's
of
it.
understanding that what matters most are what's happening
Local.
in your community. You know,
Yeah.
you have to understand and know who is going to be representing you.
That's
And
very
we've
key.
been the
Yeah.
worst at
Well, I think the situation that happened with me and Belinda kind of brought light to a lot of those things. Woke up a lot of people within the black community.
Can you just share just because our
let's
viewers
do it.
yes
You go
I would
first,
love for
Dee.
you to
Let's talk a
because
little bit
all of
about
our
it.
you have a lot of viewership and a lot of
Yeah.
support right now
Yeah.
Sure.
watching this and
Be-
some people
Let's talk
don't
about
know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before y'all go there, I just got a couple of key points to point
Go ahead.
out. As far as the building of the houses. Okay, I've worked on houses for about 30 years in my career. We can put together a city ordinance that would establish what type of materials can be used.
That answers Marshawn's question. He
In
wanted
order-
to know
Right.
what kind of ordinances do you guys plan to support?
Right, so we can, because you're right, there are situations where because we don't know, we will go with the ideal of saying this is new, and because this is new, and it seems to fit in my budget.
Right.
But the last key point I want to make
That's
is
a good
the
point.
fact
Thank you.
that a lot of these initiatives are already established. The problem is there's no teeth.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
when you don't have people in the position, because we can say we're going to create everything from scratch.
Yeah.
We may not need to create it from scratch. We may just need to
Tweak it a
look
little.
at the people
Yeah.
who are in those key positions and say, you have failed us. So because you have failed us, you no longer work here. And some of that's going to require putting pressure on the mayor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if he has a certain person in a key position and they're not performing and they are a hazard to our community, also responsible to bring about the repair of the roads. The
Right.
guy I'm running against is this chairman of public safety. So, like you said, we do need to be educated on how things go, because we're sitting up here coming last to the line when everything is established,
Right.
because we don't have proper leadership that's going to give us the proper information
Come on.
to help get things done.
It's important to understand the rules and the language that they play by.
Yeah.
Because
That part.
a lot of stuff goes under the radar because we're not paying attention to
That's
those
it.
things. So I would
That's
say
it.
this, and I know that you all are smart enough to do this, but man, get in there and start learning what's going on behind closed doors, because at the end of the day, if we don't even attempt to want to understand or know what's going on, then these deals and all this stuff that's happening with the lobbying and the people having dinner with people that they ain't supposed to be having dinner with to talk to them about some possible
Hidden
programs. it's this stuff happens. If it happens
Right.
on a business level, it has to happen on a political
It
level.
does. It does.
So I would encourage not only you all but the community. We have to get involved
Yeah.
in what's going on locally. Like I said, I could care less about the Democrat, the Republican, the whatever. Y'all can care about that stuff, but what I care about is the person
Come on now.
that's
Yeah.
represented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, regardless of your political affiliation, if you don't have the best interest of the community, you're not good for the position.
Community agenda.
Let's stop looking at the colors and start looking at the person.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I voted for a Republican. The last, I think it was the last primary, I voted for a Republican sheriff because he was talking about what you said. Instead of incarceration, let's actually talk about mental health and substance abuse.
Yeah.
And his candidate was not saying that, or his running mate was not saying that. So.
And here's the thing with that: who's he going to best represent when deep down? You see what I'm saying? Like we pick those people, but we need to, like, y'all are getting in these positions. I would much rather pick you because I know that you understand what's happening in the community, and not to knock this guy because he's talking a good game.
Not if he was if he's black and he's not talking. If he's whatever color he is, if he's talking the things that that affect our community, because that's the big debate, whether or not somebody has a black agenda or not. Can we have an education agenda? Because if I don't care how black you are, you can be you can be purple black. If you're not talking about educating black children or educating or public school funding or anything like that, having those kind of conversations, you will not get my vote.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
But let's and also I'm sorry, I'm gonna add one more thing. Not only the community understanding politics or understanding this whole system and what's going on at these tables that we're not privy to, these older generation Democrats, Republicans, liberals, independents, Green Party, anybody should be actually reaching back and doing Sankofa and reaching back to these young people and actually schooling them on what's going on.
Thank you.
But what they don't want to do is let those positions go.
Right.
Even though they should. It's time to hang up your jersey. Although you ain't won no championships, you need to go ahead and hang up your jersey and help these young people.
Trying to be Iverson out here.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I think that we have to get back to what it means to be a public servant. It's not. It wasn't intended to be a career.
Right.
Like you have to serve, do what you're supposed to do.
They use it as a stepping stone.
Right. Because a good
you have
leader.
to be willing to be a problem solver, man.
Right. And a good leader. A good leader is always waiting to pass the torch to the next person. Like you said, you're not supposed to be retiring in this. Come on. All right. So let's go ahead and get into how D. Ross and Belinda Drake became a part of the Independent Party, which I still firmly believe is the best thing that could have ever happened to both of them.
So
It was fake.
God's plan.
That's right.
Yeah. So how everything went down, as far as with me,
Bring more leverage.
Absolutely.
you know, with me, I had I grew up. My whole family grew up voting Democrat. I grew up voting Democrat in the general elections. So when I did the paperwork, I guess the question came to be that, hey, D. Ross has never voted in the primary election, and the laws say that you could either have voted in the primary election or you could be appointed by the Democratic chair, which is Kay Sweeney Bell, to be put on the ballot for the primary election.
Okay.
Now the confusion comes in is, everybody, especially from the leadership of the party is pointing at that I never voted as a Democrat in the primary election. But they not looking at the other option. That she can
appoint you
and make the assessment of okay, let me meet with D. Ross one-on-one and see where his views is and what his personal belief stands, which we did that. I broke down that a few times I met with her, right, and tried to and said I have liberal views, probably the most progressive as it gets when it comes to in the community. My track record speaks for itself. I serve a lot of the lower class and middle class communities. Last year I would have died if I didn't have health care. I was in a coma for 6 days. So HIT 2.0 saved my life, which the Democratic Party fought for. I was a 21st century scholar, which Democratic Party fought for. In the LGBT community as well. And so I have never been against anybody of that nature. I've always been promoting unity and solidarity. And you guys has been a part of my peace marches where we have all walks of life there. But we're marching through the hood. We marching through 38th Street, you know, and I'm speaking truth to what the needs and concerns is in our communities. So I said all those things. I also led a whole protest against Donald Trump when he came here the first time to the state fairgrounds. I led that and organized that. I didn't wait on permission for anybody. It was just something I felt dear to my heart. Like, I don't know, he's coming here. He think he about to just have a field day and nobody's gonna say nothing or speak out against him. So I organized it and had 500 people out there of all walks of life out there protesting, leading the fight with me. And some of the people who are against me being on the primary ballot wasn't out there on the front lines with me. And we talking about Donald Trump. So I advocate for all those things, and again and again she denied me.
Now, has she ever has she ever approved anybody before?
To my knowledge, I'm not too aware of that, but I know that a Republican has been approved to run as a Democrat in the primary election.
By Kate Sweetie Bell, or just
in general,
Sure.
in the past.
Okay.
And
do you know
I
she's
know
ever
that
denied anybody else?
I know. Well, I don't know.
She hasn't.
I'll let him finish.
Yeah. Me personally don't know that answer,
okay.
but I know that the Democratic chairs previously before her has been way more lenient, you know, because it's the primary election. Especially, I wasn't planning on going through the slate. So I was already had the odds stacked against me. It was really going to be the people's choice. Like, if I beat the slate, that means the community really want me in that district.
Right.
So I could see if I was going through the slating process. And it may be more clear, but it was very out there that I wasn't going through the slate, that, I wanted to run against her head on, whoever my competitor was at that time. And I planned to win. I planned to beat her. And I felt like that they knew that, that they were scared of that new energy, that new wave of young people coming together. Cause that new flavor, people who brings a different type of energy to the table that they wasn't really, they say they advocated for, but they wasn't really prepared for. And they say they want somebody from a grassroots standpoint. I meet all those qualifications.
Back to that word.
So it just goes to, like, I'm not a person who can be who will be limited on speaking out against issues. You guys know me well. I'm very out there, outspoken about the needs and concerns of people living in underserved communities, and I'm gonna address it. I don't care if we agree to disagree, but I'm gonna make sure my voice is heard. I'm gonna make sure my people are heard, and can't nobody do nothing about that. And so
Belinda's been waiting.
So basically, I felt like they feared people who are directly impacted coming to the table and advocating for real change. The leadership part. Right. Keep in mind that a lot of people in the Democratic Party still support me. One of the Democratic senators donated to my campaign. Right. So it's not the party. Right. It's the leadership. Right. And that needs
it's those who possess the power to make that choice.
And I don't believe that one person should be over that authorization of saying, hey, you could be on this ballot or you can't be on this ballot. Why can't the whole party decide?
It seems. I mean, it seems like
that's democracy, right?
Yeah. I mean, but it just seems like they just don't want people that are that passionate to affect change like that, because it'll put them in a position
Position
where,
to have to care.
yeah, and then like it'll make them do what they really should be doing in the first place.
Yeah, and then to add to that is, I'm very big on servant leadership, and I want to raise the bar, set the bar on what it means to serve our community.
Oh yeah.
So, that's what I told them. Like, hey, instead of writing me off, use me to fill that gap of voter education in poverty communities, like on 42nd and Post, like high crime areas. I have the respect and influence to go in any of these areas in the city of Indianapolis, in the trap houses, in the drug houses. All those areas, I know those people. These are my people. I grew up with these people, so they respect me. I have a different type of influence. So why not take advantage of my platform where we could bridge that gap between grassroots and the political party, where we can make sure that people we are saying we're advocating for are now at the table.
Right.
Problem is that these people that don't know that these people are advocating for them, so they need somebody like you to say, hey, they fighting for y'all. Y'all need to change what y'all doing.
Go ahead, Belinda.
And I think that so my journey within this entire process of being forced to run as a independent has been similar, but a little different, because my conversations with the leadership of the Marion County Democratic Party started to take place back in October.
Okay.
Let that sit there for a second.
Wow.
These conversations started back in October because
grab my popcorn.
People within the party say, hey, have you thought about running for a city council, serving your community, going the next mile?
Yeah, halfway there.
Yeah, and I'm like, sure, I already do it. Like, what's the difference? I'll have to attend some council meetings, have to help oversee the fiscal budget.
Further help what you're doing already.
Further help, yeah. I work in project management. I work with financing. Like, okay, it makes sense. I want to do something that's purposeful. Be able to keep my career, my job, and also help improve the community which I live in. I shouldn't have to move nowhere else to feel comfortable. So I'm like, okay, sure, why not? This is back in October. So some time passed. We go ahead and I have a meeting with the leadership of the Marion County Party, and this is a couple months later, and basically Case Minnie Bell is saying, hey, you didn't vote in the last primary election, 2018. And I was like, no, I didn't vote in the 2018 primary election. I was rolling out a new program for healthcare for Cobans. I worked from like 6 in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night. No, I didn't. You are absolutely correct. Like, some people aren't always in a position to leave their job. So that's a whole nother issue with our voting process. But I'll sit that on the table too. And so I'm like, okay, well, I know I didn't in 2018, but here I am, not understanding or educating myself about what the actual balloting paperwork says, because what it says is the last primary in which you voted, in which I voted. How did I vote? And so here I am, still to this day, believing that I voted in the 2016 primary. So I'm like, I'm cool. I know I can run, like, period, point blank. And I know that the paperwork also reads, at the end of the day, there's two options. Clearly, there's two options, and that's the law, that there's two options. You determine party affiliation by the primary in which you voted in last, or the party can just certify that you are a Democrat. Either way, I know that I am a Democrat. I know that I've done the work. I know that I've lived the life of a Democrat, which a lot of people can't say. So I'm knowing I'm going to be able to serve my community, which they initially asked me to do. All right, time passes. Here, no record of my 2016 primary vote. So I'm like, okay, what's really going on? So now I'm starting to again take responsibility myself. Now I'm having to educate myself about the process of running as a candidate. Again, we don't get this training from where we're from. I didn't learn any of this growing up in Gary, Indiana, period, point blank. I've learned it through experience in my adulthood because I've served with people like Congressman Andre Carson. I've sat on executive boards for the Democratic Party, just serving, just because it's what I want to do, and I want people that look like me, that live like me, to know that they do have a voice at some of these tables that's making these decisions. So I get the notice that they didn't have record of the 2016 primary vote. Here we go. So I'm like, okay, so how do I verify this myself? This is my first time ever pulling my voting record. Like, I'm literally learning as I go.
Sure.
And I'm okay to say that I'm holding myself accountable. But I still know that I'm a Democrat at the end of the day. So get a copy of my voting record. It's not there. There were some other discrepancies with my voting record that I haven't even addressed. But okay, got the voting record. It's not there. I'm reaching out to people saying, so what's the next step? You know, because I'm learning. So how do I further confirm whether or not I actually voted in the 2016 primary? They said check the request the poll book. Took them about a week to get me a poll book. Wasn't there? Okay, so now I have to withdraw, and I'm still asking. You saw the picture. As we're withdrawing our candidacy paperwork, we're asking the leader of the Marion County Party, since we don't meet this qualification now, are you able to certify us? Like, you know that I'm a Democrat.
Right.
Come on. Like
we voted for Obama.
Yeah, like what's the real issue here? Because I've worked for our congressman. That's a federal person that I've served with. I helped Andre during his first term, that special election where he was brought on. I was part of that actual campaign while I volunteered as a senior in college. I've worked with public allies who helps on the grassroots level to connect people to nonprofits throughout the city. I've donated my money and my time to Democrats. I've walked in women's marches. I'm part of the National Organization for Women, who is nonpartisan, but at the end of the day, you know what party they represent. I now sit on the committee for the NAACP Young Adults Committee for Indianapolis. I sit on the executive board for our Indiana Young Dems. I'm the 7th district chair, which means I should be a reflection of Congressman Carson. So you mean to tell me that I've served in every capacity
and
Stonewall. Yeah. Sat on the executive board of Stonewall, which I was asked to do. So anytime, this is why I say you do purposeful work, because when you're doing the work, the people will say, hey, we want you to represent us.
Right.
That's all that's happened in my entire life and my existence.
And the Lawrence.
And see, he know more of my credentials, like, because I just do it. I served on the
honorary
campaign manager. Like, I served on the Lawrence Democrat Club as the treasurer on the executive board. And here's the icing on the cake for a lot of people and what they don't know is that when Kate Sweeney Bell, the Marion County chair, certified me as a precinct committee person, she appointed me. She certified me as a Democrat. So what she did was actually against the bylaws. So, but needless to say, here I am, still fighting a good fight because my community, we cannot wait 4 more years. My actually determining point and whether or not I was going to continue this path that I was forced to run as an independent was when a young lady in my community named Eleanor was a victim of the police, basically. It was a mental health situation. And so, just bear with me, because this one, it's kind of, it's personal to me.
Sure.
So,
take your time. Yeah.
When the police was called out to that situation, it was clearly a mental health situation that they were not trained to assess.
Right.
And here I am, literally, with my wife, like, how do I know that? Because my wife, love her to death. She is my right, my left hand, and my heart, like, period, point blank. And a lot of the things that I advocate for is due to some of the experiences that she's been through herself or people close to me. And so I say, hey, that could have been my wife. Like, we need more funds towards the improvement of mental health issues and advocacy in our district. So you mean to tell me that you want me to wait 4 more years and that could have been somebody that I love, that I care about? No, we simply cannot wait 4 more years. 4 more years can be life or death for me, my wife, D, his family. or anybody's family. So you mean to tell me we should wait 4 more years to have a grocery store? What are we supposed to eat? We're just supposed to starve for the next years? Right. So the investments I've made in my life since birth has been the work of a Democrat. I believe in women's rights. I believe in LGBTQ rights. I believe in every single right for African Americans, period, point blank, because that affects me and everybody that I love in my family. And I do at some point want to see us actually tackle the prison reform. Like, there are a lot of things that we just didn't even get a chance to address and advocate for when it came down to conversations with the leadership of the Marion County Democratic Party. You didn't even respect us enough to hear us out. And so what you pretty much done is said, hey, you can't run as a Democrat, so what are you going to do? And here I am. I was basically asked to and kicked off the Stonewall board. But when things like that happen, it doesn't really bother me, because here I am saying, me attending that Stonewall meeting once a month, actually, what does that do for my community? That's 1 hour that I get to give back to my community. So I try to find the positive in almost every situation. And if you would have asked me back in October if I would be in this situation that I'm in now, no. I don't know that to be true. But I do know that we do have an opportunity here to bring about real change with real people who's experienced real things, who can relate to just about anybody in our district and in the city of Indianapolis. So when you say wait 4 years, vote this primary election, whatever the case may be, okay, but we don't have 4 years to wait.
Right.
And to also, I want to address a rumor that is going around that somebody from the Democratic Party is spreading, that I never registered to vote till 2016. In years that I voted. It shows that I voted in 2008 when I was 18, when I was in college, and I had to do an absentee vote because I was, college, you got to vote a little early. It shows that on the voter registration records. It shows that I voted in 2012. It shows that I voted in 2016. So of course I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Of course I voted for Barack Obama in 2012. Of course I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2012. And so, 2016. So, I just want to shut down that because I pulled the paperwork and uploaded it, right? Also, I want to hit on is, I got to show my receipts, right? But last year, primary, I couldn't vote in the primary because people forget that I was in a coma.
Yes.
So
They wanted to.
I was hospitalized for 2 or 3 weeks, and I didn't get out the hospital till April 1st. And so, but I had 4 months of recovery. I was on bed rest for 4 months, learning how to build my body strength back up, build my lung strength back up, my immune system, walking again. I had to do all those things. It was baby steps. I wasn't thinking about the primary election at that time, so I couldn't even get to that. It wasn't permitted for me to. So I definitely want to address that. And then growing up on 42nd and Post, we was never taught on how the primary process works. We was never taught on how the general election process works.
I think that's something that a lot of us can agree that, we're all actually still learning. I know I am.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a lot.
Politics in 2016 than I ever had.
Ever.
But, and the thing is, keep in mind that I didn't change my life till 23 years of age. So when I was a young knucklehead, we wasn't thinking about voting. We didn't think nobody could do anything for us. We were stuck in poverty. We was trying to survive. We was trying to dodge bullets. We was running from police officers. We wasn't thinking about any of those things because we always, growing up at that time, we was like, man, do anybody care about us
Right.
over here? Because is any elected officials coming in our neighborhood and engaging with us?
Right. You quickly come to the realization that you all you got.
You are you got. So
Survival.
so it's time. That's why I said, you know, it takes a lot of courage to step into what we're trying to step
Yeah.
into.
Absolutely.
Because I want to break that cycle.
Right.
I want to be that person who goes back into my neighborhood and talk to that kid who was my age at that time, and say, hey, you are somebody. You know, it's more than life than the streets. I want to put in front of them a better representation than what's already put in front of them. Because as elected officials is riding past to their homes, you know, drug dealers are riding past the block every single day. And that's who they see. That's most visible in that community.
Right.
So
Everybody already know that you are like the 5 people that you're around the most.
Yeah.
So
Can I say
Thank you
Yeah,
guys
go
for your
ahead.
transparency too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I
we've,
shared
Appreciate
some
that.
piece that I haven't even shared with other
well,
people.
we appreciate and the view and our viewers appreciate it. Your voters appreciate it because
And one more point is
one more receipt.
one more receipt is you know, leadership people of the leadership party of the Democratic Party bribed me to wait.
Wow.
They told me to take a ward chair position, to wait 4 years, and then decide to run.
what?
Which
Let me tell you-
most people at that point would probably get discouraged and say, "Nah."
Did Donald Trump wait?
Let me share this with you.
And I said, I can't wait. My people
Right.
are dying every year, every week. Why wait 4 more years? And our community on the Far East Side is already on the verge of extinction.
Come on.
Right.
Right.
Now, one thing I want to say very quickly, certain conversations shouldn't even be had. There's no way on God's green earth these 2 people should have to prove themselves as
Right.
Democrats. To me, I think it was just clearly a waste of time and effort for them to have to do this when we have so much other pressing things in our
Sure.
community that we need to address.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, God does have a sense of humor to where He puts us in position to be able to speak to power in a way that will address real key issues that needs to be addressed, because maybe as Democrats we wouldn't have been
limited.
able to speak
Suppression.
Be
on
limited.
certain
Suppression.
issues, and
Sure.
I've witnessed.
Very
I personally have witnessed people who are sitting in those chairs, knowing that their constituents, the people that live in their community, that they need to be really speaking up against a certain bill or a lot of money that's getting ready to be passed to a corporation that's really supposed to go to your community,
Right.
and they're muzzled. They're muzzled. They can't talk. And so it has always been
the Democratic leadership has told them to.
Well, contractually, they can't talk.
It's some legality there, and then there's some consequences for you if you do speak up and you do share. And so, see, here's the thing: we really need to start looking at, like Marvin Gaye stated, what's going on? What's going?
In 2019.
What's really going on? Do you sincerely want these communities
Do you really want to see real change?
Right.
to take place,
Right.
or are we just going through the motions so that we can just say that we done something? And this is what I want to say, because this is a real landscape of how things sometimes are getting done through city council. Their whole story of how the disenfranchisement, the lack of being included, and using certain laws that would prohibit a person from moving forward, and only adjusting those laws. Because here's what I'm trying to get at. When, say, like, you guys come through this door all the time, you're going to perceive this room a certain way because you're used and you're comfortable to this room. Me, I'm the new guy on the block. When I come in a room, I'm looking at certain places in the corners and the crevices, places that you probably won't notice because I'm new. When they told me, they said, look, Antonio, you can run. Well, this is what Kate Sweetie Bell told me when I went to go when I went to go to what you call it, get slated. What she told me was, she said to me, "You can run, but we would not for you to run."
What?
Yeah, she told me you can run, but we don't really want you to run. Now, my position, I'm like these guys. When you check my voting record, you'll see clearly that I voted for Democrat all my life and never voted for anything other than a Democrat. But what I started to swiftly understand is that even key people in Democratic positions don't really have a heart and a passion for the interests and the people and the concerns with, and I'm not just talking about black people. I'm also talking about people that are poor. And people that are underrepresented. That conversations, and as I said in the city council, I would hear very clearly, conversations that had anything to do with homeless people, they moved very swiftly through that. They really didn't want to spend a lot of time dealing with it. But when it came to keeping the Monte Trail clear of scooters, long dialogue about stuff like that. When it's time to get money over to big corporations, long dialogue about that. But no one's really standing up and saying, hey, what's really going on about these homicides? How can we really reduce these homicides?
And to add to that, you know, it was a bill passed last year for public health to make declare homicide, gun violence, public health issue. But, you know, oftentimes it's a lot of bills that's passed through the city council that's just bills. Just paper. There was nothing intentional to come after that bill was passed. There was no implementation of addressing the public health need, of putting city dollars. Exactly. It was nothing in place to put city dollars into action. To address the public health issues in our communities, within the black community, something I've been advocating for the last 5-6 years. And again, why pass bills if no action is gonna come up from after that?
It's just to say that they did it.
Just to say that they did it. And so my thing is, if we're gonna pass a bill for public health and to declare gun violence a public health issue, let's be more intentional about what that means, about implementing something that would help our black and brown communities.
Absolutely.
I want to also, just to piggyback off of that, let's take a look at the decriminalization of marijuana.
Yes, let's talk about
a lot of people
making all this money out here.
Yeah, like, because if you address that, if you do the studies, let's look at it from a medical health standpoint, because we're talking about mental health, we're talking about improving the lives of everybody. I work in healthcare, like I work at Covance, like where we deal heavily with medicine. And so let's compare what we have not done here to the states that have actually legalized it to help improve mental health. So if you tie it all together, you improve. It's a win-win-win situation for everybody. And I think that conversation still needs to be had. Like, we continue to want to making homelessness basically a crime. We're continuing to talk about that. Let's get back to this conversation about lowering the statute or the offense of marijuana. If we're not going to at least legalize it, let's figure out a way to stop holding people, stop trying people so high for the use of marijuana when it has so many
25 years.
When it has so many medical benefits. So I think that there's an opportunity there to introduce a bill at the local level, which then will hopefully transcend into a state bill. But I think that it takes people like us to sit at the table and say, hey, I don't care how long we got to be here tonight. We're going to have some conversations. We're going to introduce some new bills that actually will improve all communities. And I think that when the leadership of the Democratic Party realized that, hey, we have some real people. I'm not going to say candidates. We have some real people who are absolutely going to be dedicated to doing the work.
Viewed as a threat.
You know, when I realized elected officials had to, they didn't have to leave the state house or leave their corridors when the government shutdown happened. They was there all night. That tells me right there that you can have this discussion all night until we come up with a solution instead of people closing the doors at 6, 7 o'clock so they can go home and eat. We got to be real about this. And you said something very important in regards to them just sliding past certain stuff. And this goes back to Ebony when I said earlier, it was like, you know, we put people in, but sometimes those people also have an interest for people that may, let's just be real, look like them. Ain't no reason why the Monon Trail should have more conversation than the homeless. I mean, and I've witnessed some of that conversation too. There's certain things in this city that get prime time real estate in discussion. But when you talk about the poor communities, you talk about the homeless, you talk about all these things that potholes in the street, all of a sudden it's not a big deal until one of them then ran their car over the pothole. Now we got to fix the potholes. We can't wait for that. And this has been a great discussion. Do you have any more questions?
Well, I was trying to pull up this Maxine Waters video, but it won't. Oh, good. Where? I just sent it to you guys.
Can you play that first half?
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna play what Maxine Waters. Yeah, this was a good one.
And before you do that, one more thing. Well, first I wanted to also give a shout out to Mandy King. She's one of my students' parents, and she said she first met D. Ross at a toy drive. And she said she would vote for you any day. So
that's what's up.
Yeah, and then also,
thank you, man.
One of the things that I think that well, first of all, we don't hear a lot of candidates' backstories. You know, we don't hear a lot of times. We don't even get to hear your resumes. We don't get to hear that you do have actually experience in politics or experience in your neighborhood. So I think that is just kind of funny that you even had to run your resume, because most folks don't even run their resume. They just talk. They just say what they're going to do. You know, they don't say what they have done unless they're asked, you know. So I think that's interesting. But then also, I think one thing that you guys have as an advantage is the fact that you have partnerships already. And one of the key ingredients to being a leader is your ability to establish partnerships. And I think that you guys recognize that you can't do it alone. Correct. So even if you're still learning the process, you have people, you know people that will actually come together, and you need people that are going to help you. So the expectation of these candidates doing it by themselves, first of all, is unrealistic. Because there is no a politician right now that's doing it by themselves. Right. You know, it's just like most corporations, you know, you always got that boss. They know a little bit about running a business, but at the same time, they have people with them. They have a team. They have partnerships that help them run that corporation.
Right. Don't wait till somebody get to the highest level of government
and then say
you gotta,
the qualifications that we think we expect them to have, right? Or the vetting process and so forth. So they have those connections. Belinda just flat out. I mean, I'm exhausted just thinking about all the things that she just said she's involved in. We know D. Ross is doing a lot in the community and has been doing a lot. So even if they don't get the proper funding, they know how to leverage human capital. One of the best things about a leader is their ability to leverage human capital. So, and I mean, your greatest asset. Yep. So if D. Ross can get the folks out in on 42nd and Post, matter of fact, if you can go ahead and give me my $400 back from my 2 busted tires in that neighborhood, that would be great. But it would be greater to have people from that same community filling up those potholes, getting those jobs.
You know, those trains.
Some people don't know what I do.
Tell us a little bit.
I actually am the only African American in the state of Indiana who has a vocational training school that's nationally accredited through NCCER.
All right.
Awesome.
What's the name of it?
It's called Love Life Outreach Vocational Training.
All right.
Nice.
And I'm also Minority Contractors Collaborative President. And that's a non-for-profit that builds capacity for minority construction companies. Yeah. Actually working in jail too to provide vocational training. So upon release, when guys get out, they'll have the necessary education to get a livable wage job, which we've already graduated 20 people from jail too. I'm also a transitional housing, I have a transitional housing component. So when guys get out of jail, they have a room that they rent. We get them, of course, stable in a room.
Sure.
So then, of course, we're in the process of bringing in what you all talked about, education as far as home ownership.
Yeah.
So we're going to move people from being homeless to a transitional period, and from a transitional period to home ownership. So a lot of people don't know what I do, but that's a lot of what we do.
I got a question for you, Antonio. Are you hiring? Because part of my, I'm going to throw this out there, part of my role with the NAACP Young Adults Committee, I know a lot of people have job fairs in the state, in the city, but I don't see a lot of job fairs in the community. So what we're going to do is on March 30th, we're going to have a job fair in the district. There's no fee for the vendors. Like, we literally just want you to come out, set up, and hire some people within the community.
Nice.
And it's amazing that you mentioned that, because I'm actually setting up a job fair April 17th, and it's primarily dealing with construction companies and related construction companies to hire. Our goal is to hire about 300 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're working, we're in conversation with the people that are building the jail, because I always knew the jail was coming, and when I seen it being voted in, there was no real interest from our side to vote it down, so I was gonna get up there like a dummy and just start speaking on it, because I just got shot down anyway. But one thing I understood is that there's $100 million that's supposed to be invested in minority companies. And so a lot of times we talk about people going to work, but are we talking about people owning these companies?
Right.
You know, home ownership is good, but entrepreneurship is even better in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you guys prepared? Are we still queuing up Auntie Maxine?
Yeah.
Oh, she's ready. Is she ready?
To
Okay.
go.
One more question. I'm sorry. Are you guys prepared? Because as I sit here and think about that prison population that they need to fill up, and it's going to come primarily from the east side, are you guys prepared? Because the way I see it from a future standpoint is that you guys will have to stick together. You will have to come together, because as long as the east side is beautified, as long as we have jobs and businesses, somebody's going to be, I'm going to say it, somebody's going to be shitty. Somebody's going to be upset about that.
The profit won't come.
Can we get some roundabouts on Post Road? You know what I'm saying?
Come on,
Somebody's
man.
going to be mad because that prison population
Come on,
is not
now.
going to be
Can we
filled.
get some sidewalks?
So
We have to watch legislation.
just something to think about.
Right, we have to watch legislation. Everybody who has an opportunity needs to meet us down at the State House at 10 o'clock. We do not need them to adjust the laws for 12-year-olds to go to prison. This is the type of thing, when you say, oh, we're going to be together, we're going to constantly communicate about this, and we're going to constantly see how we can, if I can't make it, I'm going to say, hey, D, can you make it?
Awesome.
Or Belinda, can, you know, we're going to, or whoever is tied to us, we want to work strategically to make sure when laws are being passed, because when those laws adjust themselves, then you know the data follows where there may not even be a 12-year-old that fits that bill. Only one isolated incident that happened in Noblesville that's driving a whole bill for 12-year-olds to go to prison. So we have to follow the law and make sure when they start changing these laws, trying to change these laws, that we all as a community stand up against it.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well said. Well said. Real quick, we're going to play Maxine Water.
Yeah.
Take us on.
And I mean, she's telling it like it is. And we spoke on being raw, uncut, telling it like it is.
A long-term Democrat.
Yeah. Let's throw that out there. So, but check this out real quick. We're gonna mute our mics and I'm gonna let you hear this right now. Hold on. Give me a second. Something's happening here.
I'm gonna go to the viewers. So while we queuing up Auntie Maxine.
Yeah.
Shout out to the viewers, man.
Yeah. Jason Fishburne Gruden said, can we connect Antonio? I engage weekly with people who are homeless in a choir called Matthew's Voices.
Absolutely. Anybody getting a care source insurance, they automatically qualify for vocational training. So when you get CareSource as a provider through the HIP 2.0, definitely take care of them right away.
I think he muted. Did he mute the mic?
You didn't mute him yet, right?
No, he didn't mute the mic. You brought up something else, like I thank you for reminding me of some of the work that I've done. Like, I helped launch the Affordable Care Act in Indiana.
Wow.
Like,
Sorry.
scared.
Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead.
And I was just saying, like, CareSource, I remember working with them to help bring that here. So it just, this whole notion of who's a Democrat and who's not, it's just, it's mind-blowing at times.
Donald Trump was going to run as a Democrat until they told him that you're not going to win if you run in the same party as Hillary and Bernie. So he decided to run as a Republican and won.
And it's just the notion of, people want to pick who takes their seat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And who's going to represent?
All right, here we go. Check this out. I didn't pick one that got video.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Facts. Yep. Facts.
But really, I wanted you guys to play that because that first half hit close to home. And, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was well said, man. That just tells you right there that we still playing by the old rules.
Come on.
We still playing, but we just now catching up to the new to the old rules.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
We think we've are profound and now have became leaders in this stuff and know what we're talking about. But they didn't change the game.
Yeah.
They didn't moved it up a notch.
You heard her out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Like, go get them.
Yeah.
They're the ones we need at the table for the elected
We're not
officials.
playing by the same rules no more. So we gotta change that. But I appreciate you all for coming here and speaking with us about this. I think that this is how you connect with the community.
Yeah.
You hear it from the voices of the people that are going to represent you.
Right.
And the reason we created this platform is because we were tired of turning on the TV and seeing people represent us that have no idea what's going on in the community. Like, how can you talk about the black vote and you don't know what black folk are doing?
That's a gray area.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So we very much appreciate these kind of conversations, and you all taking time. I know my man, look, I'm getting into bed, the kids, I know, I get it. So we appreciate y'all for coming here and spending time with us and the viewers, and just letting them know what's really going on.
Can I have a real quick closing remark?
Sure.
I just want to beg and plead with the community to make sure we support, especially these two. Even if I don't, I would like to win. I'm gonna work hard to win.
Sure.
But let's support versus the return. We're not getting a lot of return.
Sure.
This is a heart.
Sure.
And passion that's coming from us to wanna be involved and suffer what we have to suffer.
It's a lot of sacrifices.
And sacrifice what we got to sacrifice in order to serve our community with not a lot of a return.
Yeah. Right.
So you stand on the guard for us. Mm-hmm. When you hear people trying to, the naysayers trying to bring us down and belittle us and make us seem like we're less than, we need for you guys to be our bodyguards to stand up and say, no, we protect them, we love them, we understand what they're trying to do, and we support them 100%. That's what we need from you all. That's the ask I have.
Absolutely.
And I just want to add, as let the naysayers be the naysayers, let them talk, let them do the talking. As they talk, we still go do the work. With that being said, one of the community initiatives I have going on this Saturday is at A&I Variety Meats and Produce, the black-owned grocery store on 38th and Post Road that just opened at the beginning of the year, which was vandalized. And so what we're doing is rallying the community, and particularly the black community, to come together and support our black-owned grocery store in the biggest food desert in the state of Indiana, and help buy out the whole grocery store. Buying out this Saturday will pay for the entire month of bills and anything that needs to be fixed. So that is a monthly initiative that I am spearheading over there. So I want to ask the black community, the community in general, to be there from 10 to 2. Off of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. off of 38th and Post Road, in the old Kroger's parking lot. You'll see a lot of cars out there, and this is something that's needed.
You hear that? The old Kroger's parking lot.
Yeah,
shame.
Yeah. So we got to make sure that we maintain and sustain great initiatives that's trying to come to life in our neighborhoods. And so that's the accountability comes in, where we got to hold each other accountable, because when we get something we've been advocating for, we got to make sure that we take ownership of it, and make sure that he don't want for anything, and make sure he got everything he need to be successful. So this Saturday, be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's every third Saturday for each month. At least we pick one day a month to buy out the whole store and fix up any repairs. So be there.
And I got just two asks. One of them being, we need signatures from people that are registered to vote in our districts to run as independents. I do know that I think D is, but I'll be at the 317 day as a vendor. So even if you don't live in the district, bring somebody that does, that believes in us, that believes that we will be a great representation to help sign the petition. And then also on Saturday, after we help out at the grocery store from like 1 to 3, I'm going to meet with some more people, knock some doors to get signatures. And then the last ask is let us know who's hiring, so that we can have people come out to the job fair that we're having in the actual district. We want people to get connected to employers, and people are actually looking for jobs now, and that job fair is going to be on March 30th. If we can go ahead and get enough vendors to sign up, there is no vendor fee. The parking is going to be free. It's on a Saturday, so follow up with myself or our chair for the Young Adults Committee. It's Jessica Chapman, and that's JESSECA. She's our chair for our Indianapolis Young Adults Chapter. So lots of opportunities to get engaged. So I appreciate you guys taking the time out to
thank you, man, for
let
coming.
us share our story.
Thank you for coming.
And what is the requirement for signatures? What do you need?
Yeah, you gotta basically post the
Right.
the
We
signatures.
12.
Right.
So
For sure.
Right.
you know,
So there can
so
be
we
no
want to
mistakes
make
about
sure
it.
that we try to triple that because a lot of signatures will be thrown out.
And when do you need them by?
July 1st, I believe.
Right.
Cool.
I need
That's
288.
That's doable.
But
Okay,
we're gonna try to
288,
get like 12.
175, and 223. All right, let's shoot, but
Very-
let's shoot higher than that because that's also a short term.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
kind of a primary,
Yeah.
short term primary. Just
Yeah.
kind of see what's
Yep.
Yeah.
fill it out a little bit.
Different.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll be at the 3172 as well.
Awesome.
that's awesome. Well, anytime
Appreciate
you
y'all.
guys need us to do something, if we can in our capacity, we'll try and be there.
Yeah.
You know, we do this as a voluntary service, and we can't be everywhere, but we will try our best to be where we can.
Man, thank you
Thank
guys
Thank
for having us
y'all.
on. Like,
Of course,
this
of course.
is
That's
a
all
beautiful
love.
platform.
Of course.
Like I love
I'm
the gray
excited.
area, man.
Gray
I mean,
We
area.
love you too.
I feel like you guys get definitely overlooked. Y'all do a lot of great work, and
Appreciate
this is
you,
something
man.
that's needed. This is like the Breakfast Club of
now.
the
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
man. So we got to make sure that we rally behind you guys to make sure that you guys are sustainable and maintain y'all relevancy in the community as well, just as any other black-owned business.
For sure. Thank you, man. We certainly appreciate that. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And out of the words of my man, when he said, "What's going on?"
Right.
I think I want to leave y'all with.
with.
I think I want to leave y'all with a little bit of what's going on. You know, y'all can marinate as we roll it out. We'll see y'all next week.
He don't even listen to Marvin Gaye.
It depends on where I'm at. Shh, be quiet.
I listen to the remix.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
Love.
Punish me with brutality.
Yeah, brother.
That was great, y'all.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys for coming.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Leg day. Ouch.
Tell you
That's
all.
awesome, man.
Woo.
Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Yes.
All right.
Y'all
Let's
did
get us
an
a
awesome
picture real
job.
quick. We're going to
Oh,
take a
yeah,
picture.
picture.
Y'all
Did a beautiful job.
a good position, man. You want
I'll be not to
to,
get too
Yeah.
passionate because it's like certain stuff that I haven't even.
don't do
Probably still won't.
Yeah, y'all went on
Already
and
know.
took a couple of extra.
I'm an independent thinker.
Use it as an avenue.